Greetings, comrade. My name is 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐎. I'm multi-platinum awarded artist, songwriter, and music producer from Russia. And here is a vlog and podcast named Music Business in Details for every new upcoming rapper or singer to get more knowledge and to make less mistakes so you can faster get results that you want. Today's topic is artist management, so let's jump right in. Hey, in the beginning of every podcast and vlog, I want to say that I'm truly sorry for my English because it's not my first language. So sometimes I can do grammar mistakes and sometimes I forget words, but I'll try to do my best. So today's guest is an amazing person. He's 10 years music industry veteran and founder of JRNE Artist Management. He developed careers of a diverse roster of artists, including multi-platinum songwriters and producers and Grammy-winning artists. He worked for several years in Universal Music Group and Def Jam, as well as he created and ran sports partnership department for UMG. His newest project, Don's Voice, has won multiple prestigious awards, some of which include the Silver Tally Award, SXWV Interactive Innovation Award, and One Show's Silver Pencil. Meet the nicest artist manager I've ever met and my dearest friend, Joseph J.P. Pineda. Hi, Joseph.
Hey, George, your English is great, man. Your English is great.
Thanks. I'm trying. So, can you briefly talk about yourself and how did you start to work in the music business?
Sure. Yeah. So I was lucky in that my last year of college, I had an internship. I was able to find an internship for a regional Universal Music Group office in Washington, D.C. It's at that time I had no idea there was even a regional office in the area. And then again, just literally my last semester, I came across that there was a small office in the Washington, D.C. area. So, I applied repeatedly and then was lucky enough to get hired as an intern. And from there, kind of worked my way up from an intern to the mailroom guy. Then I became a marketing rep and a field rep in different positions along those lines. And then eventually I was transferred to New York to work specifically for Def Jam and, worked there for a minute and then went into sports partnership, etc.
Oh yeah, that's actually cool. So working with different artists, can you tell people and upcoming artists what should be the qualities for a rapper or singer that he or she can start to work with you?
Yeah, so what we always look for, first thing I'll say is everyone's journey and path is different, and we're always asked what is the most important or what's this or that, and again, it's each thing is unique to the artist. So I wish there was one answer for that. Especially when people ask, oh, what does it take to get signed to a label or get a manager or get a booking agent? Again, there's many different factors. But for us and for what I look for, I just look for artists that have a very clear and authentic vision to their art and their music. Nothing that is chasing a trend or trying to be something it's not. And then, just try to look for artists that, are really out there kind of making their own shit happen. In today's day and age, there's no reason why artists can't create their own buzz rather than trying to wait for someone to help them create their buzz.
Yeah. So for now you work with 6 artists, as I know, and do you have some vacant spots or 6 is the limit for you?
No, it always changes, so yeah, no. So to your point, to your question, no, there's no limit. We do try to keep it pretty small so that's manageable because, artist management and working with artists, takes over your whole life. It's a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
But there's no limit. I have no problem working with just 2 artists or we can work with 20 artists. There's really no limit. It's just a matter of do we have do we have the time and the bandwidth to actually be able to give each artist the support they need?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that question that I'm gonna ask you, many artists will want to ask you, and here it is. At what time of the career do you think a new upcoming artist needs a manager?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, like it's different for everyone. But what I would say is I always encourage artists to self-manage or work independently as long as possible to learn as much as the business as possible. I see a lot of artists trying to get managers early, or they just have a friend manage them or something you know, just to try to have someone that they say manage them or to help them in certain things. But it's invaluable to be able to do as much as you can and learn as much as you can on your own. Because the more you know, obviously, then the more you can be educated on the different parts of the business, and then other people, can't take advantage of you or tell you something that isn't true or not true because you've tried it. Oh, and I mean, like booking your own shows, uploading your own music, you know, doing everything and anything, pitching your own press and pitching your own music to blogs. Like, do as much as possible. Now, when do you need a manager? Again, it's all different for other people, but I would say when you really start to get some traction and some buzz going, and you feel like it starts to become too much, that you do need some support and some help. And usually if you are getting some buzz, you'll start hearing from managers reaching out to you.
Yeah. So let us break the myth now. Tell all the artists, can a manager solve all problems and get the artist to the Billboard #1, to Grammy, to shows all over the States?
No, yeah, no. I mean, no one can do that, right? Like, no one can do that for you. If there was any blueprint or formula to get a #1 record or the Grammys or whatever, then every major label would do it. Every big manager would do it. Like, then there would be no artist that they would have no artist that didn't get it, right? But there isn't one way, one path. So the answer would be no. And at the end of the day, like, if you're looking for anyone to solve your problems for you, you're already kind of starting that relationship in the wrong foot.
Yeah, totally agree with you. So, what do you think are the most popular mistakes that artists make when they start their careers?
I would say the biggest mistake would be, I guess what I would say the biggest mistake would be is trying to follow trends or what they think is cool, or what people are doing, but be it TikTok or I don't know, anything else, or a style of music, and just not being authentic to themselves, like trying to copy or be too like something else rather than being their own genuine artist. Yeah, I would say that would be one of the bigger mistakes that I see often. And then just trying to, and then depending, similar to your other question, depending too much on other people, and having a mentality like, the reason I'm not at a certain point is because I don't have X, and like always blaming it on the idea of, if I just had this, if I just had that, if I just had this. And, I would just say, again, especially in today's day and age, there's enough artists can do in any part of the world to get enough attention and buzz so that people come to them. And I'm telling you, managers, labels, booking agents every day are scouring the internet trying to find, great talent and great artists.
Yeah. So just be yourself. That's the goal. That's the main guide that like everyone can advise to you. So what can be the top mistakes that new artist managers can make when they start their careers?
Yeah. So for a manager, I would say the early mistakes I made, at least, were, it sounds weird to say, but I would fall in love with the music too quickly. Like, I would hear an artist's song and I would just love it, and think it's amazing. And it would be probably one song, maybe one or two. And then I would reach out to that artist. We'd start talking, and within a couple of weeks, I would want to manage them or say, "Hey, can I manage you?" Or let's work together. Or they'd ask to manage me. Especially for artist management, it's such a it's a marriage. It's such
Yeah, it's
a deep, yeah, it's such a deep relationship. Like that's not something over a couple of weeks you can really kind of tell if you vibe with a person. So I tell new managers this all the time, like don't fall in love with the music too quickly. Like you can and love the music as a fan, but loving the music and then also being a manager of the artist are two different worlds, because you know you have to make sure you and the artist communicate the same way, and are able to deal with ups and downs. And at the end of the day, the music's such a small piece of whether or not artists are successful, that you can kind of get blinded by just, oh, the music is so amazing, like we should work together and be kind of in this marriage, and then ends up like the personalities don't fit or whatever it may be. And like, as we all know, if it was just about the music, 90% of the stuff that's out there now wouldn't be as big as it is, versus other stuff that's out there. It's really about so many other factors than just if the music is good.
Yes. Can you say how can a person become an artist management nowadays? Can you recommend like any courses, conferences, sites?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, especially there is no class, or as far as I know, there is no way to study how to be an artist manager. I mean, the only thing I would say is, it's something that really anyone can do. Now, can they do it well? I mean, everyone's different. But what I would say is to start, try to be really good at or be a part of at least one aspect of the business. So it's, I've seen booking agents that have become great managers. I've seen lawyers, music attorneys that are great managers. People from record labels obviously become managers. Publicists, I've seen publicists who are amazing managers. So I would say first, yeah, try to do something in the music business, learn that world as much as you can, see the other aspects, and then that would help become a manager. Again, also there are people that have no experience, or I've seen just a friend that grew up with an artist, and that artist trusts that friend, and that friend becomes a manager, and then they also are amazing managers. So it's just one of those jobs where it's not rocket science. We're not doing brain surgery. You just kind of gotta have your shit together, and hustle and grind, and just really outwork everyone else, or at least try to outwork everyone else.
Yeah. So music business is always changing and evolving. What do you usually do to stay on top of the game?
Yeah. I mean, I just try to immerse myself in as much as I can. I personally try to look at other industries, and see what they're doing in addition to what the music industry is doing. So like, what are they doing in the tech world? What are they doing in the ad agency world? What are the film industry is doing? And then of course, like, especially with the new up and coming stuff, just trying to have as close an ear to the street as you can, kind of like what is buzzing or being used with kids today growing up, and what are they doing? What are they using the most? What is the next TikTok? What is the next this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just try as tuned in as possible to that stuff. But again, like I would study. I think a lot of people study the music industry too much and see what's going on there. Where if you really study other industries that are cutting edge, especially the tech world, because Spotify, tech company, Apple, tech company, Google, tech company, all these industries really created what's today's music industry. So we had to play catch up in the music biz to what they were doing. Yeah, so I would look around and not just silo my knowledge for just what the music industry is doing.
Yeah. So can you tell me what are your plans for like next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, the plan is always to continue to work with amazing artists and try to execute their vision as big as they want it to be. Like not every artist's vision is to play a huge arena. If I have an artist and their vision is just to, put out 3 albums that they love, then that's their vision, and that's what we were trying to do. So, it's to continue to just to continue to grow, working with artists that inspire us and doing the best we can to kind of help them achieve their goals.
Yeah, but do you have like maybe some specific professional dream?
Not. I love what I do, and I'm blessed to be able to do this for a living. Sure, do we want to be bigger and badder and make more money and all that? Sure, but at the end of the day, like, so the name of our management company is not JRNE. It is JRNE, but it's pronounced Journey. And the idea behind it, it's about the journey and not the destination. I think when people get too obsessed with trying to get that next thing or, to this level, they lose the passion and the fun and the enjoyment of it is about the journey, So, we just try to love the process as much as the end result, because the end result is never going to satisfy you. If the end result is to get signed by a label, you get signed by a label, then this is going to be the next thing. The end result is to win a Grammy. You win the Grammy, and then what? It's the next things: 2 Grammys, 5 Grammys. We sell 1 million records. We want to sell 5 million records. Like, just go crazy. So, we honestly, my goal is to continue to do what I love and be able to do a living and take care of my family and take care of my artists, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's actually a great goal. Okay, so we have little questions of my followers that asked in the comment section. So Ty the Beats ask you, what business advice can you give to upcoming music producers, and what do you think about internet producers?
Yeah, so let me start with internet producers. I think now more than ever, internet producers are respected and have credibility, and are used across the music industry, from major label artists to up and coming artists, so forth and so on. I mean, we spoke prior, you and I, about BeatStars, which I think is an amazing platform, and one of the biggest hits of the past couple of years, Old Town Road, came from there. So platforms like that, and direct to artists, beat production and internet producers. I think the possibilities are endless for those guys and for that. And now more than ever, like I said before, 5-10 years ago, you couldn't be in Russia or wherever you are and get your production to a big name, or you could be anywhere now. Before, even in the States, it was New York and LA. New York and LA, Atlanta, Chicago, maybe some other major markets. But if you lived in Wisconsin or South Dakota, it was hard to kind of get your music to the people or to the artists. So I think platforms like BeatStars in particular, who I love those guys. I think they're amazing what they're doing, and the things that they have coming up, I feel like are going to be game changing. But yeah, and then advice for, what did he say? Advice for up and coming artists or up and coming producers?
What business advice can you give for up and coming producers?
So my business advice would be, I mean, there's so many different avenues, but I'll just start with what I think his main question is, like, how to build his business and his following. I'm all for providing value first before asking for something in return, or without expecting something. I think the biggest thing that has helped me throughout my career is that I've always been willing to help others first and give value first, no matter the size of the artist or the label or whatever, before trying to ask for something, or, an introduction, or help me out, or listen to this. I always try to provide value first, and anyone can provide value. Like, I don't care if you're a janitor at a high school, you could provide value to Jay-Z. You know, like people know something that, or have a connection that someone else doesn't, you know, or ideas. So even when I was in the mailroom, I was able to provide value above my job description to all the major labels, you know.
Yeah.
I think I was in the mailroom when I first provided an opportunity to Kanye and to Def Jam.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So like, again, like that is in a sense, I mean, again, I was more blessed there because like I also worked for the local NBA team, the Washington Wizards. And because of my connection to the Wizards, and, you know, this is when Kanye was definitely a star, but not where he is now. I was able to connect the dots so that the Wizards and Kanye did something together. And again, I was just a kid in the mailroom.
Yeah.
So anyways, so for anyone out there, right, like they may feel like, oh, you know, what can I do, or how can I, everyone can do something, right? So if you love an artist, or, you know, want to work with this person or that person, think of how you can provide them something first before asking for a handout or for something in return. I mean, people hit me up all the time with like, first, you know, can you help me? Can you do this for me? Can you listen to this? Can you do that? It's just constant. It would be amazing if someone would hit me up and say, hey, I have an idea for you. You know, like, I saw you manage XYZ. I know this one blog, you know, is a friend of mine. I would love for them to do a write-up about your artist, you know? Like, if that was the first introduction, or the first part of how we met each other, that's such a different relationship than the 50 million DMs and emails and stuff you get first, with saying, can you do something for me? Can you do this for me? Can you help me? You know?
Yeah, correct. Absolutely agree with you. So next, Prod by Mikhail asks you, what inspired you to start your own venture? What have been the biggest differences between this and working for UMG Def Jam?
Yeah, so I've always been a little bit more of an entrepreneurial spirit. So, you know, what got me to do my own venture is I've always just wanted to kind of be my own, you know, be my own boss and either succeed or fail based on my own merit. You know, there's definitely pros and cons to that, and it's very difficult to do. You know, but again, we've been lucky, and we've been able to do that for, you know, going on. I think I started JRNE in 2011.
Nice.
So yeah, the biggest difference is, you know, the good thing about being an artist manager is, and owning my own company, is I can work with who I want to work with and when I want to work. Like, you know, being at Universal and Def Jam, there are definitely some records that came across my plate and artists that I thought were not that great. You know, like, I thought this was whack, or they were like, how did this get signed? But the thing about music is it's subjective. So I would still give it my best shot of trying to get at wins or promote it or market it, just knowing that it just wasn't for me. Now, and then vice versa also, there are a lot of people that, you know, for whatever reason, the way they interact and their vibe, you know, just doesn't fit with mine or with me. Like, you know, you have a coworker at work who you just can't stand, or you have a shitty boss that treats you like shit, you know. Luckily, in my position now, if I don't want to work with someone, we don't have to work with them, you know. Or if we don't like an artist, we have to work together. Like, there's a million people out there to work with. So that'd be the difference. And the biggest difference is, you know, when you work for a label or corporation, you know, obviously that's very, to a point, secure. You know, you get steady paycheck, health insurance, all that fun stuff. You know, being out on our own, you got to build that on, you know, that nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah, totally agree with you. So he also asks you, what are the biggest challenges you have faced so far, and how did you address them?
I mean, definitely the biggest challenge is, you know, building a company from the ground up and trying to make a living, you know, in the music business, especially as a manager for independent and emerging artists. You know, you're lucky to break even, much less make an income. You know, and then of course, if my artist makes $100, I just get a percentage of that. So like, how do you pay the rent and do all that stuff when that's the case? Now, how did I combat it is, I would just hustle. Like, I would never, the best advice I ever got from another manager when I first started managing is like, and I love this dude and I respect him so much. And he had some great artists. He's like, you want to know the hardest way to make money, JP? He's like, be artist manager. He's like, that's the hardest way to make $1 because your artist has to make, $10 or $200 for you to make $1 or whatever, whatever. So anyways, so what I did is and he was like, do not depend on artist management to pay the bills to start. So when I started artist managing, I had 5-10 different jobs. Like I was consulting, I was, working with sports teams. I was just doing whatever it could, so it wasn't just management. And still to this day, I work with multiple different avenues. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. 2 quick questions from him also. Best networking advice you have how to connect with people from industry?
I mean, I think it's very similar to what I said before. If you want to network or connect with people, provide value first. I forgot what the motto is that Gary Vee always says about jab, jab, hook, or give, take, or something. Like, try to give twice before you ask once, or something like that. But anyways, whatever it is, it's basically just that ideology of try to give first before you start asking for something. And you can reach out to anyone on any level. Of course, don't try to, maybe not try to get to Kanye first, but there's so many folks out there and artists, I'm sure, that you love, or labels or managers that are, mid-level, independent, whatever you may call it, that if you want to provide them value first, that would be the best networking tool.
Yeah. And last from him, looking back on when you first started, what's the biggest thing you would tell someone who's just starting out?
What would I say? I mean, my path is different from anyone else's, but I guess I'll start with what I would tell my younger self. I mean, it would be similar to, all this stuff and what we talked about earlier, where it's like, love the process, fall in love with the process and the journey, rather than caring or obsessing just over that next thing. Like when I first started, it was all about, I want to get this marketing position. I want to work for Def Jam. Like it was just always that without. And I wish I would have enjoyed the process more. But you're young and you're out of college and you're just, you're obsessive over it. So that thing I would want to do. And then another great advice I got when I first started was, especially for the music business, and I tell my artists this all the time. Don't let the saying is, don't let the highs get to your head, but also don't let the lows get to your heart. And what that essentially means is, there's going to be so many ups and downs in the music business, and times you want to give up, and times you think you're going to be the next big thing, but don't let either get you there. There were times where I was like, oh, wow, like I'm about to be the guy, and I, definitely had some success in my career, but, not letting it get to your head and, treat people right and build those relationships. And then also on the reverse end, I could probably remember times from day to day where I thought I was the hottest shit ever. And then the next day I had the lowest day ever, and working at a label or as a manager. And you can't let the lows get to your heart either. You can't let the shit kill you, and one other thing, just thinking about that for all this stuff is it's all about, and I'm sure this sounds cliche, but it's all about building relationships. Like I'm literally still working with the same people I worked with 10 years ago, or the same people I've met when I was in the mailroom, and vice versa. So the people, that we didn't get along or I hated when I was in the mailroom, or just thought like their values were different from mine as far as the way they see things and like the way they communicate. Like I don't work with those people still to this day, so it's all about relationships and building those relationships. And I think that goes back to the give take idea. Like if we're building a right relationship, like if I want to support you and I want to connect with you, how do I provide you value and support you without any expectations in return?
Yeah, great. I am Bennett Music asks you, I haven't met with a few major labels on the Universal Music Group and talked with a few A&Rs who have told me streaming numbers and are what matters in terms of getting signed. Are there other things label look for when trying to sign new artists, or are streaming numbers strictly what label focus on?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be real. Streaming is it right now, but 1000% there's other things that the people look on. I've had artists get signed to a major label before putting out a song, without having any music out. I've had other artists that have tens of millions of streams and get dropped from a major or not be signed. So like streaming is definitely important because it's so tangible. You got to think back in the day, you really couldn't tell if an artist had buzz. You don't have social media numbers, you don't have streaming numbers. You could kind of just hear like local community, oh, people thought this person's dope, or like, oh, they're selling mixtapes or whatever it would be. Like I don't even know, for a genre that doesn't have mixtapes, I don't know how pop artists would build buzz back in the day. So yeah, I mean, streaming numbers are tangible, right? And like I think the harder thing for a lot of these artists, like, oh, my music is so dope and I'm just as good as any of these artists out there, I should be signed, or this and that, but their numbers don't match that, so that's why it's not just about how good the music is. Like I've had artists come to me and try to act how great their music is. They have 1,000 streams, they have 2,000 streams. Like that's great, that is great, but you don't have anyone that is paying attention. You have to have people care, and that doesn't just happen in music. That's in any industry. You could be a great fashion designer, but if no one cares, you could be better than any other fashion designers, but if you can't find a way to get people to care, then what's then just design for yourself and your friends. So yeah, so streaming is important for sure, and it's the number one. Well, I'm not an A&R, so I won't say this, but I think it's one of the main ways that labels and A&Rs and managers are finding new artists is by just going on, streaming and trying to find these little diamonds in the rough and going on, TikTok and so forth. But, it's not the only way by any means. No, it's all about buzz. I will say this: it's all about buzz or having some type of, attention on you. It could be streaming, it could be socials, it could be press, it could be whatever else it is. It could be booking, it could be shows. You just have to have some type of buzz or some type of fire that people are like, oh, there's something there,
Yeah, correct. Hootie Ray asks you, how does an unsigned artist get discovered?
Yeah, I mean, a million ways. Again, like I think we just touched on it. Getting some traction on streaming, social media, touring. I mean, touring's not anything now. Getting some press, maybe even connecting with other artists and getting on their records. I mean, now more than ever, it's a gift and a curse, because now more than ever, it's so easy to get recognized, but also there's so much out there now that there's a lot you're going against. I think the last number was there's 40,000 new songs that come out every week. It's probably more, actually. There's probably someone that works in
a day. It was in a day.
Yeah. So there's a million ways to get discovered. Unfortunately, that doesn't help his question. But then that's why I was saying, like, for each individual artist, it's going to be, what is your strength? So one of the first things when we work with an artist is, what is their natural strength already? Like, if they're not good at TikTok, then we're not going to fucking do TikTok. Like, we're going to try, just not to be, get out of our comfort zone. But I'd rather them focus their energy on what they're good at, because there's more than enough growth you can do in that one category than worrying about, oh, but I heard you got to do Instagram. Oh, I heard you got to do this. Oh, I heard you got, like, be great at what you can be great at, and you'll make some noise. Be great at being a fucking chef. And Action Bronson is a fucking amazing chef. So yeah, so be great at anything and you'll get noticed, and yeah, so be great at anything first before trying to worry about all the other stuff. And then, just while I'm thinking about it, back to a mistake that a lot of artists make is similar to an artist manager falling in love with the music. I think artists, you know, put too much weight on, oh, my music is so good, I should be big already. Where it's like, you know, you could be a great painter, an amazing painter, and not be rich and famous, right? So I see artists spend too much time, money, not too much time, but they don't spend enough equal time, money, and budget on promoting their art as they do making their art. I've seen artists barely scraping by, but will pay for the top mixer, top mastering, top this, top that. And then when I say, okay, great, what's your budget to promote this music that you put your heart and soul into? They're like, nothing, or $100. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what, if anything, if it cost me $1,000 to make a record from start to finish, I would tell that artist they need double that budget to promote that record. So you better tell me you have $2,000 to promote that record, because the promotion part and the marketing part is the harder piece for artists. You know, usually the making the music, that's the passion, that's the love, that's something they got to do. They have to do just to survive or feel good. Like, you know, that's the quote unquote easy part. As hard as it to make records, maybe that's the part that, you know, they should be doing whether they get paid or not. So every time you are creating music or trying to get your music out there, you have to think as like, you should already be thinking, okay, making it, getting it done is great, and they obsess over it and barely can do that or whatever it may be. But you better have a plan. If you want to make it a music business, you better have a plan and a budget or whatever it may be to promote it and market it. Or you can just make music for you and your friends, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's, if you want to be rich and famous in music, you got to think of the second piece of it just as much as the creation part.
Yeah. Last three questions. Gabriella Rose GG asks you, do you ever consider developing an unsigned voice talent or getting discovered via talent show like AGT or Idol the best option?
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, we're open to any avenue. So it could be from a reality show or it could be from other things. So yeah, the short answer is yes. Now, what I put, if the real question for her is, you know, should she use that as her strategy to get discovered? You know, I wouldn't say necessarily that, because that's going to be like hitting the lottery. But, you know, that's definitely, I have managed and worked with artists that have been on reality, those type of shows, for sure.
Cool. Okay, Danielle asks you, I'm going to release an album. How can I get attention from the labels?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question, unfortunately, without knowing her specific story. Yeah, I can't. So, but what I would say is, first of all, why is it getting discovered by the label is the goal. I think the overall goal should be, how can I get you know, as much attention and awareness and get this out to as many people as possible. Now, how do you do that? It really depends on her. And I will, if she was my artist, I'd say, okay, here's a record, here's you, you know, what are your strengths? You know, what makes you unique? What are you good at? What can we then really dive into? And like, I like to focus on, you know, in any genre, pop, rap, whatever, I would say a lot of artists are 90% the same, you know, maybe even 95% the same. But what is that 5% that makes you different than everybody else and that no one else can say? Let's hyper focus on that and drill that home, rather than worrying about the other 95% where we're just like similar to everyone else. As much as every artist wants to say they're so different than this and this, which is true, but like, you know, pop artists, the majority of them, what they're doing and their sound is pretty much in the same world. Rappers, all this stuff. But what is that piece that makes you special? You know, and how do you focus on that?
Yeah, I think, but Dan is a he, actually.
Oh, sorry, man.
Yeah, that's fine. And the last question from the followers. The Doopy asks you, what do you look for in artists you represent?
Yeah, so I think we answered this earlier, but, you know, again, they have a very clear vision of who they are and their artistry, and that it's authentic and genuine. And then secondly, and almost as important, because back to what I was saying before, there's always two worlds to it. Is the art dope, in my opinion, and is it special and unique? So that's one piece, and that's the artist making their music. But then the second piece is the artist hustling on their own and making their own opportunities happen? So that would be the same as an artist, not having a budget to promote their own stuff, but they have a budget to get a great mastering or mixing person. So, those are the two main pieces. Like, do I love the music? Do I love what they're doing? Does it connect to me? Does it make me feel a certain way? And then the second piece being like, and also, are they not just sitting around waiting for someone to come swoop them up? Are they making their own opportunities happen? Are they hustling? Are they doing their own thing to create their own buzz?
Yeah, that's great. So actually, thank you very much. That's all questions. And what can you say in the end, the last advices for all artists that listened and watched for us today?
I would kind of just echo home what I was saying before about, I know it can feel daunting as an artist to kind of get recognized or known, but that should be the primary strategy and plan you should be thinking of, is how do you, through whatever avenue it is for you, how can you create that buzz and attention to you? And it doesn't have to just be about putting out the next dope beat or the next great song, right? Like, what else about you is special? How do you hone in on that? How what platform are you using, via Instagram, TikTok, whatever, YouTube, whatever works best for you? How are you creating that energy and buzz? Because for all these folks that feel like, oh, I just need to be discovered, I promise you that labels, managers, A&Rs are scouring the world trying to find you. You just got to create that excitement. And then the other piece would be about how, love the journey rather than just the end result or whatever you think that end result is. It's all about relationships and provide value first. Like, you think an artist is great, or manager, whatever, try to build a genuine relationship with them first without any expectations, or try to provide them some support or help first. And then that's how you can kind of grow your team or your network or your community.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's actually it. I think we made it in time because you have a meeting.
Great.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
5 minutes.
All
good.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for agreeing to doing that for community, for people. I think it'll be super valuable for everyone who will listen and watch this.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. Hope it was helpful to people out there. Shout out to Yana for connecting us. Yana's amazing.
Yeah, Yana's great. She's coming in Russia.
Great. She better come back. Don't keep her over there.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And sure. Yeah. And if there's people having more questions, maybe through you or some other way, we can find a way to answer those at some point. But thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.